Now, what he wants is to be able to preach from your life. Just like he went to Peter and he said, hey, Pete, can I preach from your boat? He wants to preach, tell the world the good news from inside of our lives. Now, a lot of times when we come to Christ, like I said, we get excited about all the things that we can get out of it. And come here, TJ. You're up. Welcome, TJ, to the stage. Let's just say that TJ is my Savior, Jesus Christ. Now, you're coming back here. Are you comfortable being Jesus?
Not really.
All right, good. Now, let's say, I'm kind of going on in my life, and I'm just kind of steering along, and I come to a service like this, and I hear the life-changing message of Jesus Christ, and I receive Jesus Christ, and I say, oh, Jesus, it's great to have you on board. I'm so glad you're here. But we push him to the back. And then we go through life standing up on our thrones and just being me. Hey! Look at how great my life is. Look at how I steer everything and I move everything and I shape everything. And then on occasionally, like on Sundays, Jesus speaks. And then he goes back. And then I go back to living my life, right? But then all of a sudden I read a great book or I go to a camp and Jesus speaks. But then he goes back. And I go on living my life, right? And it's all about me. I'm a Christian who has Jesus at the caboose, but I'm the engine. And I'm running this thing. Is this how it's meant to be? No, in Galatians 2:20, you know what it tells us? Paul says, I am crucified with Christ. It's no longer me who lives. It's Christ who lives in me. He says, for me to live is Christ. For me to die is gain. Why? Because I'm with Christ. Paul says, I've forsaken all of my accomplishments in Philippians. And he says, it's all rubbish, it's trash, it's garbage. I've forsaken all for the sake of the one who has saved me. He is my life. That's what it is to be a Christian. When we trust Christ, we say, Jesus, you come here. Stand up, buddy. And he becomes the preacher in our boat. And the only thing that I have to do is to try not to peek. I need to stay behind him, letting him lead, letting him speak, letting him preach from my life to a world that needs to hear his message. Can you thank TJ this morning for coming up? Yeah, so many of us have received from Christ the things that he gives, but unfortunately, so many of us have succumbed to the temptation to keep him from using us and giving us more as he works through us to reach the world around us. We need to give Jesus our boat. Now, if we let Jesus in the boat, the next part is giving Jesus our trust. Write that down. We need to give Jesus our trust. Look what Jesus does to Simon here. He says, okay, Simon, he gets done speaking, and he says, all right, buddy, that was fun. Everybody's, sufficiently fed. Now let's get you fed, fisherman. Tell you what we're going to do. I'm going to take you out into the waters here, and you're going to let your nets down. What do you say, Pete? Or he was Simon at this time. Now, I think he did it in this way, too, because picture the scene. He's on the beach with all these other fishermen who are there washing their nets and hanging out and doing the maintenance, because everybody knows if you're going to go fishing, don't go in the middle of the day. The fish ain't out there. You're not going to catch any. Stay in the shore and do all the other work you got to do, so at nighttime when you're supposed to go fish, you can catch your fish. Jesus flips it on its head, and he says, hey, let's go fishing now. I think he says it in a way that all the other fishermen hear him. Has anybody ever done something talked really loud so you can embarrass somebody? That's what Jesus is doing. He's talking really loud so that Simon is going to be in this big, quandary as to whether or not he's going to do what he says. Hey, Simon, let's go fishing! And Simon has a choice. Am I going to trust Jesus? If we're going to accomplish the things that he wants to accomplish in us and through us as someone that he's healed, well, then we're going to have to trust him. Now, I know there's people out here right now where this whole trust thing is a tough deal right now. I talked to a few more folks this week whose families are going through joblessness or facing it in the imminent future. I talked to a guy last night whose wife just went through a very serious cancer surgery. And they're praying and trusting as much as they can, but it's still a hard deal. We walk through relationship trials. We walk through all these things that require trust from us. And then what Jesus does sometimes is he says, let's do something completely crazy. Anybody ever been told by Jesus to do something crazy? And you've heard it and you've sensed it in your heart that you're supposed to go do this thing, and you're like, really? You want me to do that? Do you know how that's going to make me look? You want me, instead of just saying yes sir and no sir to my boss, you want me to share with him the life change that you've brought to my life? I could get fired. Or, like this one friend that I had who was standing in a grocery line, and he was telling me the story once, and he says, I was standing there, Mark, and as I was just standing there, I sensed that Jesus was telling me to pay for the lady's groceries in front of me. And the lady was about my age, and I was like, Jesus, you got to be kidding me. She's going to think I'm hitting on her. And I mean, what's going to happen with the lady behind and all the people behind me? I mean, it was this big busy line at Walmart, and he's like, I can't do this. And that's where we get to the next part of the story. Peter did the same thing, or Simon did the same thing. I always want to call him Peter because that's where he ends up. But Simon did the same thing. Simon answered him. He said, Master, we've worked all night and haven't caught anything. Simon, on hearing Jesus' request to go fishing, he's like, I can't do this. This carpenter is trying to tell a fisherman when to fish. So he starts lining up all of his excuses. Here's why I can't do this, Jesus. First of all, we've been out all night. We're tired. Physically, we just don't have it. Okay, secondly, the fish aren't biting. All right? We were just out all night and we caught nothing at the time when we were supposed to catch something. And so if you're not supposed to catch something during the day at all, on the days where the fish aren't even around, the daytime fishing is going to be even worse. So he's basically lining up all of his excuses. Can you see this? Are you hearing this in Peter's voice? Jesus, I can't do this. But there's this great but in the Bible. Did you know there's some great buts in the Bible? There's some great buts in the Bible. Here's a great but right here. He says this. He says, Master, we've worked hard all night and haven't caught anything, but because you say so, I will. Now, circle those words in your Bible. Because you say so. When you signed up to follow Jesus Christ, you signed up for the because you say so life. No matter how crazy it seems, no matter how extreme, how difficult, how unlikely his direction, seems to be leading you towards success, you live a life that says, Jesus, because you say so, I will. That's what Peter did here. He got out all of his excuses. He was listening those things out just like we do. But then in the end, it just boiled down to, did Jesus say it? Yep. All right, then I'll do it. Now it's probably, this infinitesimal type faith that he's developing. He's seen Jesus cast out some demons at the synagogue. He's seen Jesus heal his own mother-in-law. He's probably like, all right, I'll risk my professional career and in the eyes of all these other fishermen, I'll be willing to be a laughingstock. I'll do all of this extra work that I wasn't intending to do. I've been up all night. I'll extend myself because, Jesus, I trust you. And I don't just trust you on paper. I don't just trust you in theory. And this is one of the greatest challenges of a Christian's life. Because we could say everything right, can't we? We can come in here and sing the songs, wave our hands, close our eyes. Nobody could tell the difference between us and a Christian who really does trust and obey. But when it comes down to nitty-gritty in the points of life where we say, or we hear Jesus say, go do this, and we're like, oh man, really? Our obedience is the evidence of our trust. So we need to give Jesus our obedience. When we do that, the story goes on to tell us what happens. When they had done so, it says that they caught such a large number of fish that their nets began to break. Jesus is in the business of getting you way out on this limb and then making that limb bear more fruit than it's ever borne before. He gets you way out there, way extended, way crazy, and then crazy things happen for the good. My friend was standing in that grocery line. He was standing there, this woman was finally done checking out all these groceries. There wasn't that many, like $10 worth. And she's fumbling around her purse. Like, you know that woman in line who's like trying to find the wallet in this purse where, you know, she's like... And this whole time, this guy is just standing there, and he's having this argument with his God as to why he can't do what this guy, his God is telling him to do. And finally, he's like, all right, fine. He grabs his debit card, and he just swipes it down the little machine.